everybody, and welcome to DC Fine Art. Today we are going to be doing an experiment slash just having fun for a little Halloween thing that I decided to do. This here is the Stonehenge hot press, and it's black. It's a black paper. And I've used it before for some of the stuff that I'm doing, but we are actually going to be creating some bookmarks out of it. And so I went ahead and drew up my bookmarks just using a white charcoal pencil, measured them out, put them on this black paper. Now what I'm doing in this experiment is just going to be testing out some of the Derwent metallic watercolors and then some of the like the metallic color pencils on it, just to kind of see what it does. Now I have created before in a video using the Derwent metallics on the same type of paper, and I wasn't really completely happy with the way it turned out. So I decided to go ahead and just give it another try and use it again and just see how it does. So I'm going to use basically in this one right here, the first one is going to be the Derwent watercolor metallics that I'm going to lay down. And then I'm going to go over the top of it in just some little detail areas with some of the metallic color pencils. Now, when I worked my way to the next 3 bookmarks, I decided that I was going to use color pencil and just see what color pencil looks on it. Now, I just chose a random 3, and I chose these 3 because they were really the most opaque color pencils, but we'll be going through the Derwent drawing, and then we'll do the Caran d'Ache luminance, and then we'll do the Derwent Lightfast being the last one. So we're going to test those out on each of the bookmarks. But first off, I'm just creating on this first one the watercolor. And I'm just kind of just playing around. This is nothing like supposed to be really super realistic or anything like that. These are just fun little bookmarks that I wanted to make. Now I won't be finishing off the bookmarks because I'm on my travels. I will have to wait until I get home in order to finish them off and laminate them and do the whole 9 yards. But for now, this is just going to be something fun, just testing it out and seeing how it works on this paper. So right now I'm doing the pumpkin, and then I'm doing just like a little gravestone. So just something fun. There's really no rhyme to reason for it, except for just testing it out, having fun. And what I've noticed about using the Derwent Lightfast, or not Derwent Lightfast, those are color pencils, but using like the metallics. I mean, I know it's going to be shiny and everything, so it is harder to take a picture of it. But I did run into the issue before, and this is also the issue that I ran in with this one, is that it looks like, I guess, more bold and opaque looking, and everything looks kind of like, okay, you know, it's still kind of shiny. I can see it real clear, but when it completely dries, and I mean, this is like, after you do it, wait until the next day kind of thing. But when it completely dries, it looks really milky looking, like foggy, milky, not so like intense of the colors, the metallic. I mean, you got that sparkle, like if someone put a bunch of glitter on it, is what it looks like, but it just does not have that richness that I was like kind of expecting that it would have. So it really muted down the little bookmark picture. So that is one thing that I didn't really care for. I've always kind of looked at it and rethought it on what I could do different that maybe they might work out better. And the only thing I can think of is if maybe you wanted to go over the top of something, like if you did like color pencil, well, not really with the water, I'm not thinking watercolor wise, the watercolor stuff, but if you were working with the metallic color pencils like I'm doing right there and just laying in some of the details, maybe you can end up like using one little stroke of the metallic pencil while using a regular color pencil and just add maybe a little highlight of sparkle to it. So you could possibly do that with the Derwent like it ain't really the Derwent. I mean, those are the Derwent metallic pencils, but I also had the Create-A-Color metallic pencils too. But maybe use those in conjunction with a color pencil to add that little shimmer to your piece. Might be good. But as far as the Derwent watercolor, I don't know, unless I try it on a different paper. Because I did notice when using my color pencils on the paper, it wasn't as strong. Like if I went over it, even though I wasn't pushing too hard, if I went over it enough times, it started to want to, like, basically a part of the tooth of the paper was like coming off. So that was really, really weird. And yeah, that was with the color pencil part. But there's a little finished piece of the little watercolor bookmark part. Now here I'm going to go ahead and do some color swatches. Now I just picked out some colors. I think I did white for all of them that I'm doing, except the other secondary color I just picked out was just random, just to kind of see if they had the opaqueness that I was wanting to be able to go down on this black paper. Because I do know I didn't want to use, I mean, I didn't try out my polychromos, but I was really thinking just the consistency of the polychromos, it would probably be more translucent. Along with my other color pencils, I use the Derwent Pro, and I'm really thinking that those would be kind of too waxy or more translucent. So I try to pick my most opaque kind of pencils, you know, that are more creamier, to be able to try on this type of paper, like the black paper, and see how it does. And for the most part, I was really surprised. They did very, very nicely. At least all three of them did. So here's the Caradosh Luminance. I got DD for Derwent Drawing, CL for Caradosh Luminance, and then I'm going to have the Derwent Lightfast, which is going to be DL for Derwent Lightfast. And the first one, I'm basically going to go in that order too. So the first one, bookmark that I'm going to do is just using just the Derwent Lightfast. The next bookmark is going to be the Caradosh Luminance. But with that, I am going to end up going back to my Derwent Drawing Chinese White, because that just seemed to be the most opaque. And whenever the paper was like, I was trying to highlight an area, and the paper started to try and I just now dawned on me now that I'm doing this. The paper started to kind of, not really tear, but just kind of rolled up a little bit, you know, like if it was going to start tearing. And I had to go over it with my Derwent Drawing, which is a much softer pencil. And whenever I did that, it was able to take over the top of it. And now that I just remembered, right whenever I went into doing my first one with the Derwent metallic watercolor, I ended up spraying down the paper. And even though this has been a couple days later of me working from the watercolor, the time that I did spray the paper, on over to doing these color pencils, so there was enough time for the paper to completely dry. I mean, it's been a few days since I've done that one. But maybe the water with me spraying it may have had something to do with it. You know, I don't know. That is pretty bad for it to not, I mean, even though it's completely dry, weaken the paper itself. So I guess maybe, I mean, it took the rest of the pencils. It's just whenever it came to my white, like using the Caradosh Luminance white, that it tried to tear a little bit. So I don't know. That is kind of interesting. I didn't really think about that until now, but I wasn't really too big of a fan. I love Stonehenge, don't get me wrong. Like, I absolutely love doing color pencil work with the Stonehenge, 100%, like using the white paper. But when it comes to the black paper, like what they got here, I'm not for sure if I'm like a real big fan of it. But those are the colors there that I have down, that I did a color swatch just to kind of see their opaqueness. And I absolutely love like the greens that came out. It came out really bright green. So that was really nice to see just how opaque these colors are. The whites look really good. The best white for looking the most opaque is going to have to be the Derwent drawing. I think Derwent drawing on pretty much all scales was the most opaque of the pencils. So here I am. I just kind of drew this little skeleton out. It's not entirely, like I said, to reference. It was just kind of a freehand drawing, little skeleton and some flowers. And so I just wanted to go ahead and do him. I think on the next one, I'm going to do like a little Frankenstein, and then I'll just actually have the drawing in it. I don't know why I didn't put the drawing in this. It's just me drawing it. But I did on the rest of them, so. And I also tried using my technique of blending with OMS. So even though I got all my colors in there, and then I should have enough laid down to where whenever I go in and use my OMS, it kind of blends it out. It did kind of blend it out a little bit, like especially the blues and such, but it almost didn't blend it out as good as it would if it was on, like, any other paper that I've used. Usually it blends out really good, but for some reason it like helped the color pencil and it didn't want to blend out very well. And I put plenty of the OMS on, so it was really kind of weird. And I put plenty of pigment down, because usually on the Derwent drawing you can put down a few layers and then go over it with OMS and it'll still blend because it's just that creamy and that soft. But I put down a few layers, and it didn't want to blend out as good. So I'm not quite for sure if it was the paper's fault on that or not. But yeah, like I said, I never really had that issue with any other paper. So here I am. I'm using, I do believe it's like 3 different colors. So to create these flowers, the center is just like a creamy wheat kind of color. And then the outside is going to be, I didn't really write down all the color names, but usually I go with a highlight, and then I go to another, like a purple, like a light purple, and then get a darker one for a shade. Yeah, I ended up deciding to do like little bookmarks and stuff like that. Just something fun for the holidays. And my skeleton, I will have to go back over him and put in um, some more color pencil on him, because he's not definitely not done. But yeah, I couldn't leave him like that. It's gonna have to take another layer or so to go over him. But I was just waiting for the OMS to dry, so while I was waiting on that to dry, I just went ahead and started in with my flowers. And I didn't use no OMS on my flowers. After the skeleton of using the OMS, trying to blend it out, I'm pretty sure I did that maybe one other time, and then I was kind of like wanting to lean away from it because it wasn't really blending that good. Here I go back over my little skeleton. Now, the one thing that I did notice that I absolutely loved when blending on this paper, because the Ole Miss wasn't doing the job very good for some reason or another. I don't know if it was the paper or whatnot. But I ended up taking out my Caran d'Ache. I have Caran d'Ache blenders, like pencil blenders, which is basically um, it's made up of the same type of stuff that the Caran d'Ache pencils are made out of, except that there's no pigment added. So whenever I go to blend, it actually blends it out very, very nicely, like what the OMS should have been doing. But yeah, I started using those and it worked out beautifully. So then I started going over to my pencils. There's the finished one, or the bookmark of that one. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the drawing of my Frankenstein. But yeah, definitely using those blender pencils, like the blenders, are super, super nice. Especially for this paper, at least. All right, so here I'm just doing a freehand, just kind of little drawing of a Frankenstein or at least a zombie guy. Could be either one. But I made his hair and stuff look like a Frankenstein. Like I said, I didn't really have too many ideas just coming to my mind, but I just wanted to create something simple and fun. Which was a lot easier to test out these color pencils on a all black watercolor paper is just to see like actually do like these bookmarks. It's great. So I did some bats and I just kind of put them like if they were flying around his head. And now I'm starting in with the darker, I'm going to make the background kind of like a purple, but I want to do it in stages. Like have like the darker purple, a lighter like purple, and then the lightest purple on top. So just working in stages. And I'm going around what I drew with my pencil. Now I will have to, I did try and go over this with OMS just to kind of see if it would blend out, and still yet again it wasn't really doing that good. And I was going over it several times, laying down a bunch of pigment on the paper, but it just wasn't doing the job as good. But whenever I went over it with my blender pencil later on after adding in another layer on top, then it did really, really well. So sometimes I guess OMS works and then best for some things, and then sometimes those blender pencils definitely come in hand, or definitely come in handy. So there I am doing the lighter purple for the top, going around my little bat that I drew in. And see, I used the OMS. It kind of blended a little bit of the top part, but just it didn't do that great of a job. And then I went over it again with my color pencil, just layered it all back in. And then I ended up going over with my blender pencil. And for next week's video, I'm hoping to, I got a request from one of my subscribers on if I can make a part 2 of the corn that I was working on with the Fiber Pastel brush pens. And I definitely am going to go ahead and do that. I am enjoying working with it. Right now I'm still working on the little corn cob, little round things, whatever you want to call them, kernels. And I only got a few more left, and I can actually, since I didn't get into actually finishing it yet with the going into the stock part, I was actually thinking about going ahead and I can go ahead and do that video recording for you guys. So absolutely, I will be coming out with a part 2 for the corn. So super excited about that. I have been enjoying working with that one, though, with that piece. It has definitely been a blast for me. So yeah, I'm hoping that next week I will be able to come out with that for you guys. And then also for the palletful packs, I have not got mine in yet. It is still being shipped out of like California, and I live in like the central part of the United States, so it takes a while for me to get it. And so I'm hoping by maybe the end of next week during the weekend or such, like the following Saturday or Sunday or such, to be able to make a video of opening the box for the Paletful Pack. And since it'll be my second box, I'm still new to the Paletful Pack stuff, and I did not know that they, and I'm just going to let you guys know, did not know that they send me an email. And in the email, I was like curious. I was like, oh, what's this? And I went ahead and opened it up and started reading it. And they told me ahead of time what I was going to be getting in the box. So yeah, I know what I'm getting in the box, and I'm super, super excited for it because I think it'll be perfect for this for October. And I couldn't be happier with what I was gonna get. I'm not gonna tell you guys. You guys are gonna have to wait until that video comes out. But yeah, definitely have some plans. I guess kind of knowing before I get it, it does make me excited, but I don't know if I should be reading that ahead of time or not, or if I should just leave. I'm probably just going to end up next time just leaving the email unopened and just putting it into my, like, putting it over into important stuff, so that way, whenever it comes time to doing the Paletful Pack review, I can open that up and then be able to go from there with it. But yeah, it's kind of like taking a peek of your Christmas presents before Christmas. So there is my Frankenstein. And see, those color pencils did amazing. They worked it out so beautifully. I absolutely loved working with them. So now here I am drawing my next one for the Dirt Light Fast pencils. All an exception that I will be using. I tried using a little bit of the white for the Derwent Life Vest, but like I said, it wanted to kind of go through the paper a little bit, so I went over it with my Derwent Drawing Chinese white, and that was much, much brighter, and it did not like harm the paper whatsoever. It was just more of a softer pencil. I do like my Derwent Chinese white. That definitely comes in handy. So here I am, just drawing up just pretty much anything spooky or Halloweeny. I guess that's a word. I don't know. I think it is now. Now that I used it. Yeah, I don't know why, but my little clipboard started to want to move with me. Alright, so this one here is going to be a pumpkin. It's sitting above ground, but right below that pumpkin, it's going to go from grass into dirt, and inside that dirt is going to be a, I guess, it's going to be like a scary pumpkin, like a ghostly underground pumpkin. And that little thing there is a worm. I know, I don't know if you guys can see it as clearly as I can. But basically what I'm doing with, as far as the ground, I'm going from a darker brown, and then I'm going to work and stage my way up to a little bit lighter brown, and then up to the top, towards the top, I'm going to have more of the lightest brown. So I'm just working dark to light is all I'm doing. Those little pebbles are different color, little tans and beiges and grays, just to make up the little rocks that's in it. Now I am working on some of the grass. And there goes my clipboard. When you speed things up, like if I was working on this normally, you do not see the clipboard move that much whatsoever. But whenever you speed things up, you tend to notice that things start to move. And yeah, it doesn't move that quickly in real time. It really doesn't. Gosh, if I had to work like that in like real time with my clipboard sliding off that much, you would think that I was literally going down the road, going around a curve or something, and the whole thing just slides off. But yeah. So here I am. This is that blender pencil that I was telling you guys about. I'm using that to kind of blend in all my stuff instead of using the OMS. And I absolutely loved how this worked out. It blended it in so super nicely. It didn't wet my paper or anything like that. So I loved the blender pencil on this. I would definitely go with that if you're using the black paper like this. making my spooky ghostly pumpkin here. Trying to go around all the little details that I drew in. And now going up to the little moon, I'm adding in several different types of grays, and then I'm using the Derwent Chinese white again, just to kind of highlight it. Absolutely love that pencil. And now I'm going to go ahead and start on the little jack-o'-lantern pumpkin that's above ground. Kind of like watching it, because whenever you watch it, like whenever you go back and actually watch it in this speed mode, it's kind of cool how you see everything just come to life. Even though my clipboard is moving, definitely notice that now. But once this is finished, I will definitely show you guys a close-up of the finished bookmark, and that way you can kind of see what it looks like when it was done. And there I am moving the clipboard, the runaway clipboard, doing the little gravestones in the back, and now I'm just working on the little scary spooky dead tree in the background. Definitely these bookmarks have been a lot of fun. I do have to say that my color pencil ones are my favorite on this paper. The watercolor one is just really milky and washed out looking. Not really caring for that much on using those, but there is my finished little bookmarks. I do have to say, like I said before, I absolutely love the color pencil, using these on this paper much more than I would use like the watercolor, like the Derwent watercolor. Didn't really care for that much. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this. And yeah, if you're new here, click the like and subscribe. And if you all have been here before, thank you so much for coming back. And I hope to see you all next week for the next week's video. Bye, you guys.